everybody. Okay, so Julie, what are the whole range of other things that you do?
Lots and lots of things. So privacy, responsible AI, digital safety, data governance, it's sort of the whole suite of
Sounds
issues.
super easy.
It's really easy, yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, so let's get into it. Lots of very hefty topics.
Yes.
I know you recently, you're always attending policy, privacy conferences, but there was one in Venice you were at recently,
Yep.
in DC. What's top of mind at these events right now?
So what's fascinating in terms of what's going on right now is there seems to be a consensus that is developing among global regulators, not just in Europe, not just in the United States, but in Asia and elsewhere, which is regulation is deeply important, and at the same time, regulators need to make sure that there will be innovation. So there's a lot of discussion right now about how do we ensure that we are enabling innovation while protecting fundamental rights? And also, how do we make sure that startups and small and medium enterprises can navigate the regulatory space? We've heard a lot earlier in this conference about how difficult it can be for those kinds of entities. So regulators are looking at simplification, they're looking at harmonizing across all of these different domains, and they're really looking to drive and enable innovation. And that's actually quite refreshing, seeing that now.
You've been on both sides, right? Also, you've spent some time on the government side.
Yes.
Which do you like better? No, I'm just joking.
Can I say yes?
Yes, yeah, sure, that's a good answer. Okay, let's talk about safety. You spend a lot of time thinking, again, from both perspectives, from your previous, previous career as well as your current one, about safety when it comes to AI and technology more broadly. When it comes to kids,
Yeah.
what do you think about most? What's most critical? And I'm curious to hear also from the point of view of the corporate side of
Sure.
your role today. What is companies' role versus the government's?
Sure. So governments around the world are really focused on kids right now in a way that we haven't actually seen in quite some time. And the focus is really around social media and the impact on kids. And you're seeing globally, outside of the United States, the adoption of laws that companies really do need to pay attention to and are paying attention to. And the reason why I say outside of the United States is there's this little thing, the First Amendment, that sort of has tied up some of the laws that the governments are trying to adopt. That said, from a company perspective, what we need to make sure is that we provide parents, moms, dads with the tools so that they can help their kids navigate this space and also can protect their kids from whatever content they're able to control. It's a challenging space because at the same time, you want to enable kids to learn about a digital technology. You want them to engage because this is their future, digital technology. So there's a balance that needs to be struck, and I think that a lot of jurisdictions are doing that, and a lot of governments are doing that, and companies are really trying to enable that kind of balance.
So if you go back a ways, though, I know you brought up social media and some of the risks and concerns there, but we saw regulators trying to catch up when it came to social media, when it came to mobile, to those technological transformations. Do you feel like with the advent of AI, there's a little bit more of a preemptive thought being given to some of the potential issues?
There was, absolutely. And I'd say, particularly around the EU AI Act and some other very immersive, comprehensive laws dealing with AI, the governments were saying, look, we missed the boat on social media, so we need to get out in front, we need to regulate. And I think there's now a recognition that there's a need to take an examination, really take a step back. This is by governments that are saying, let's make sure that these laws can be implemented by companies across the spectrum. We want to enable startups. We want to enable innovation. And so I think that that is what is starting this initiative that you're seeing around what I talked about before: simplification, harmonization so it isn't so complicated going from privacy to responsible AI to digital safety. Let's bring them together in a way that will work a little bit better for the small and medium enterprises. But it did begin, I think you're right, when governments thought, gee, I think we missed the boat on social media.
Do you feel like this kind of these opposing forces? Because on the one hand, obviously there's this AI arms race. You can't slow down progress. I know there was in the U.S. this sort of movement to like take a 6 months pause on AI progress, which is not going to happen. But you know, on the one hand, you have that, right? You've got this push to keep advancing, and there is this race going on. On the other hand, so many potential issues that are being thought through. How do you thread that needle? Like these are opposing forces. What are the different approaches to making sure that, on the company level, by the way, too,
Right.
that you can move forward, that you're not falling behind, and at the same time, you're being thoughtful?
Yeah, I think that that's really important, especially for companies. I think it's really important that, you know, even before you start looking at regulations and whether and how you're going to comply, to really create principles that that you as a company stand for. So at Microsoft, and we're not the only ones, but we were very early.
You're a big one.
We're
Yes.
a big one. We're big.
Anybody
And
heard of Microsoft in here? Yes. A few.
we are big. And because we're big and because we provide so much infrastructure to the governments and companies around the world, we really take these responsibilities pretty seriously. And so what we had to do early on, before any AI laws were adopted, we created internal standards. And that's where you as a company can say, are we living up to our North Star? What is our North Star when it comes to making sure that we're trusted and we're trustworthy in terms of the AI that we're providing? And so we had a standard, we developed teams that would test against that standard. The standard included things like ensuring privacy, ensuring security, ensuring safety and fairness, and making sure that the AI was inclusive, especially when it comes to accessibility issues. So those are pretty big requirements. And we had teams that would make sure that we were abiding by that. We tested. It was a very robust internal system. And we also published our standards so people could see it. So transparency was a big part of this too. And I think that that's the kind of responsibility that a company like Microsoft owes to our customers, which are also some very big companies and small and medium enterprises and startups, and what we also owe to our public sector customers as well.
By the way, are you surprised by the pace of adoption? I mean, OpenAI's ChatGPT, which Microsoft has a stake in, amassed 100 million users, subscribers within 2 months of its launch, fastest growing app ever. Did that surprise you? You've seen these other, you know, you've been a part of these other technological transformations.
I have been. So when I was a commissioner of the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, which was my last government role, we used to see a lot of technological advances, and we felt like we were always behind. Now, the pace of innovation is just accelerated. What used to take years to get out now takes months. And, you know, regulators are trying to keep up. They're doing, you know, not a bad job, in my view. And what we're seeing in companies is, just to go to a point you made earlier, a real desire to be ahead, to be leaders, and also to make sure that it is safe and trusted. And that is a big job right now. But yes, things are moving incredibly quickly.
I want to ask you also about the role of AI in productivity and in the impact to the workforce.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked a little bit about that yesterday as well, and some of the opportunities.
Right.
There's also a potential downside, right? There's a lot of concerns about what it does to jobs. You know, I think we talk about it a lot as like this superpower for employees, which it absolutely can be. Can you talk a little bit about just how you look at the impact on the job force, the workforce, you know, both internally and externally, and how does that factor into how you think about the growth?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand that, like here at this conference, we have amazing people, amazing women who have been able to do incredible things with AI. That listening to all of these panels, I've just been blown away. That's a technical term for like really, it's been awesome. And at the same time, I think it's important to think about the suite of what's going to be happening, particularly to women in the workforce as we go forward. And that doesn't necessarily involve this cohort of women, but sort of all women. So what we are going to see is there are jobs that are going to be augmented by AI. They're going to be improved, medical jobs, people who are in medicine, people who are in research, people who are doing pharmaceuticals, even the financial community. AI, generative AI, is just going to help them zoom ahead. Those kinds of jobs we can think of as AI augmenting those roles. And then there are going to be jobs that are going to be disrupted. And that's going to be creatives. We know about that from what was happening in Hollywood. We are also going to see that in administrative roles. We will see that in some sort of analytic roles, but not all of them. And as it turns out, so LinkedIn published some data and got it out on International Women's Day. It turns out that women are going to be more impacted because they take more and aspire to more of the jobs that will be disrupted than augmented. And so what that means is it's really important for governments and for companies to focus on how we can help women now get ready for that, so that they just don't lose their jobs and then like they've got no place to go. So what does that mean? It means that we heard a lot about skilling over the last couple of days. We absolutely need to focus on women in particular who are going to need skilling and the jobs that will be disrupted to help them get to that next level. There's also other things that companies can do, I think, to help with this in addition to skilling. And I should just note really quickly, Microsoft has already trained and skilled for AI about 100,000 people in Saudi and millions and millions.
Oh, just here.
Just here in Saudi Arabia. Millions around the world. And by the end of this year, we will hit about 160,000 in Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a big, but it's our responsibility, right? This is something that we can really help with. And we partner with the government, we partner with our customers. It's really important to do skilling. But the other thing that companies can do super quick is they can focus on their culture inside their companies to really drive AI training and all of that. And they can change the way they look at new candidates for jobs. Think about the skills that people have, not their past experience. Because if you focus on skills, what you'll do is you'll increase by 13% the number of women that are considered for jobs globally.
Well, Julie, I feel like we only scratched the surface, but as we said, really hefty topics. Hopefully you will be back, and it will be me interviewing you and not a bot or a humanoid robot. So
It will definitely be you.
Yes.
But thank you so much. This was delightful.
You, Julie.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.